My name is Erin Bradley, and I am a math teacher, dorm parent, and coach at Rectory. My teaching style is to try to have as minimal lecture as possible, less me talking, more them doing. So my tables are always in a U shape so that it's more conversation-based. I try to get them out of their seats as much as possible. I try to kind of wander around the room to help students as needed. But really my goal is just for them to be doing the math and not me talking about the math. Big push that I have is to really understand the why of the math, not just kind of giving them the rules and expecting them to kind of plug and chug. If they understand why we're doing these steps instead of simply saying my teacher told me to do them, the hope is that they'll be able to make deeper connections and go deeper into the next level of the math. So one of the methods that I use in my teaching is having my students really explore the math by trial and error and figure out how to solve. And then the hope is by the end of the lesson, they see that there is a quicker method. It's not necessarily the correct method, but there are quicker methods out there. And just trying to help them see and make the connections as to why we do the steps that we do. So it's all about learning from your mistakes, and I encourage mistake making in class because that's how we learn. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning because you already know everything. So we want to encourage making mistakes because that's how you really remember where you went wrong, and you hopefully won't make the mistake again because you've learned from your mistakes. Seems to be a lot of pressure to understand the math before you even get to the classroom. That if they need to try a couple times to get it right, then that marks them as a failure, which is not true at all. That is the process of learning. If you're getting it on your first try, then you're not really learning because you already knew it. So the hope is to get my students to understand that it's gonna get messy before we get to the final product, but that's how you learn. I've been trying really hard recently to talk through what's going on in my head in front of my students so that they can see my process. It can get messy, and hopefully that helps them see that it's okay to have a messy process to get to the final learning. So when I was a student, I didn't necessarily love going to school. When I became a teacher, I wanted to really help students see the more fun side of school that I didn't necessarily see. A lot of the teachers I had growing up, especially in high school, was we sat at our desks, we took our notes, occasionally asked questions, but we didn't really move around. So I try to do the opposite of that as much as possible to help my students find the joy that I didn't necessarily find in school. Coaching definitely helps me make that connection. Because I found my love on the field, I try to connect with my athletes on the field and then try to have it overflow into my classroom so that I have this connection with them to help build that joy in the classroom. To grow in math and to learn in math, you need to be able to admit when you don't know what you're doing in math, to say you don't get something, or to put your answer out there not really knowing if it's correct or not. There are so many times you are worried, is this going to be a stupid question, or do other kids already know this, but needing to ask it anyways because it's helping you on your journey. And that takes a lot of vulnerability and a lot of trust to be able to do that in a safe environment. And I find that getting to know students outside the classroom, whether it's on the soccer field, the basketball court, or the lacrosse field, I start to build that trust with those students a little bit more. There's a part of being out on the field that you can't really hide when you don't know something or when a skill's not super strong, and it helps them then become more vulnerable in class and feel more comfortable speaking up when they don't know something. They're more willing to open up and be vulnerable and ask for help. And because they get to know me outside the classroom, they see that I'm more than just a math teacher. They see me more human and that I care and I really want what's best for them. And they know that I truly am here just to help them get better. So I was a math major when I first started college. I then ended up switching to art administration, so kind of the business side of art. I had taken an art class every term that I did my math classes to kind of help keep me sane. I like the creative open-endedness of art that was presented, whereas math comes across as a right or wrong answer. So it was fun to take these art classes to kind of use the creative side of the brain. It really is the math linear side of my brain that really enjoys the art side, being able to kind of see the balance in pieces. I see it as a puzzle sometimes and just finding the right pieces that fit together. I had a photography professor in college, and he said that he's the one who actually made the connection for me that math and art actually aren't as different as what people may think that it is, and that really opened my eyes to how math and art are more connected. A lot of the time we see the final product and think we have to get there as quick as possible, but sometimes it takes creative roots to get there, and I feel that that's the art side of my brain helping me kind of design these different ways of getting to the answer. In my teaching, I try to have art in it here and there, just to try to open up that art side for the kids and kind of see the connection that I see between math and art. I currently am working towards my master's at Mount Holyoke College, and being a student again has really reopened my eyes to the other side of it. I used to always think a student needed to participate to show that they're paying attention, and tried to get all the students to talk in class. And now that I'm back in the classroom, I've been reminded how much I don't necessarily enjoy speaking up every step of the way. And that doesn't mean I'm not paying attention and I'm not learning. And so that has really just opened my eyes to what my students are going through and how could I ask them to do X, Y, Z when I don't feel comfortable doing that in my own classes right now. So it's helped me kind of view my students in a different light and have more compassion for what they're going through. Being a student now and realizing how much process time I need has really opened my eyes to how much more I should slow things down when we're going through things in class and really make sure that the students have time to process what is being said, because if we go too quickly, it's in one ear and out the other, and there's nothing for them to grasp and hang on to. I enjoy teaching middle school math because I really like helping students still hang on to that love for math. And I think 8th grade is really when a lot of students just decide that they're not a math person, so they don't buy into it as much as they did when they were younger. I really hope to try with my 8th grade classes to help them hold on to that love of math, the love they had in the younger years, help them see the joy, help them see the connections that we can make, and to not give up on math so quickly. What I've always loved about teaching is that aha moment that students will have when they finally make a connection that they've been struggling with for a while, or all of a sudden all the pieces fall into place and they make sense. When they verbally can't help but be like, oh, now I get it. That brings me so much joy, because it's like all this hard work is coming together now and they're able to make these connections that we've been working on for the past couple days, past couple weeks, whatever it may be. And when they do make those connections, it just brings me a lot of joy. Both my parents are math teachers at independent schools, which has been helpful because I'm able to talk with them about math. There's a lot of times that I will call my parents just to run an idea by them. So it's been helpful to have them to kind of lean on when I'm in a sticky situation or trying to figure something out in class. When I went to college, I did not want to become a teacher. Around my junior year, I think it was, I had the realization of I do want to be a teacher. I was helping my college friends with their math work, and it just made me realize that I love helping people with math. I love helping them see the connections that you can make with math. So I realized I wanted to become a teacher. It's funny because I went to college not wanting to follow in my parents' footsteps, and here I am actually following every step that my dad has taken. I went to an apprentice program for 2 years after college, and it turns out my dad went to the exact same apprentice program, and then from the apprentice program I came here to Rectory, a boarding school, and after my dad did his time at the apprentice program, he also went to a boarding school. So I went from saying I'm not going to follow in my parents' footsteps to pretty much following directly behind in my dad's footsteps. For prospective families that are looking at rectory, I think the message that I would want to get to them is rectory is a very special place because so many of the teachers wear more hats than just a teacher. We get to know these students beyond the classroom, so we get to see the whole picture and not just who they are for an hour of a day in our classes, but also they get to know us as a whole picture, not just as a math teacher. So it helps build those connections and build those bonds with the students. The bonds that you make here are what make rectory such a special place to be.